Welcome y bienvenidos to Trauma Liberación con Alba Soto, a podcast where we have deep and courageous conversations about overcoming trauma. This is a safe and sacred space where survivors and those who support survivors join me in my mission to liberate individuals who are suffering from trauma. My voice is my weapon, and I am the change. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm here with the beautiful Tamla Crutchfield. I personally don't like to introduce individuals. I want her to introduce herself. Thank you for joining me to come here on my podcast and share your story. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to nowadays, Tammy.
Well, hello, Alba. First of all, thank you so very much for being you and what you're doing. I'm privileged to even be here. So my name is Tamla Crutchfield, or, you can call me Tammy. I am currently the founder of the ArTam Foundation. And what I'm doing is extending my life experiences to other people through this foundation. Anyone who's suffering from any type of cancer, fibromyalgia, or other invisible or visible illnesses. Just being a holistic wellness advocate for us to be advocates for our own lives and our own bodies and be mindful of what we're doing to it to live a better quality of life.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And I know you had mentioned something a little bit offline about some of the different visions that you have about coordinating and just really being a hub and a community. Tell me a little bit more about that, about this hub and all of the different resources and supports that you're going to have for individuals who are currently suffering with invisible illnesses such as the many that you've experienced.
Oh, yes, I'm really excited about this. So I decided to go ahead and make my life a foundation from me and my friend Arlene Peterson, who passed of breast cancer, and that's another story for another day, but ended up turning what was a business of love of products and services into a nonprofit organization, working on the website right now. And I have what's considered a virtual holistic community. And there is a page on the website where I already have 2 businesses there in holistic wellness, and just for it to be a hub for when you come to the website, if it's something that the ArTam Foundation can't do for you, then we have a community of people in the health and wellness area that you could be guided to. So whether if it's Glow IV with IV infusions, and they help with individuals with cancer and other illnesses, and Earth Angels Holistic Health, who deals with almost everything, health and wellness, life, spiritual, soul coaching, Reiki, and things like that. And I plan on adding a whole bunch more in the future. So including Ms. Alba here, she's going to be a great asset in that community.
I would be honored, absolutely honored. I think that's such a beautiful and necessary mission. I just feel like oftentimes, so I am your most unorthodox nurse that you'll ever meet, because I'm a Reiki practitioner. I have had 4 home births. For me, I'm very holistic. So if I go in there with, an issue, I love it when my provider tells me change your diet and exercise. And I may not follow through with the plan, but that's what I prefer in terms of treatment modalities. It's I love my essential oils and my crystals. I'm holding my obsidian right now, which gives me this sense of grounding and this sense of peace. So, I absolutely love that you're creating this place for individuals like myself where we can have this alternative. I want you to tell me a little bit more about the invisible illnesses that you live with and experience, because you had mentioned something about your friend, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And her, her battling with cancer. And there's a time and place for medical treatment. And in addition to the medical treatment, having, these alternative therapies. Tell me about your experience with your invisible illnesses and the different things that you've used to be able to help you cope with those invisible illnesses.
Okay, well, I've been suffering from invisible illnesses since childhood. The first one that I knew of was PTSD that was stemming from severe depression, suicidal ideations from different things that I had been going through in my life. And what doctors and researchers say is those kind of traumas can lead to people having fibromyalgia. And there are people who have it who probably don't even know that that's what they have. And it affects both men and women. But the information that they're getting are mainly from women, and I believe that's because of lack of testing. Men are a little resilient to going to doctors as more often as women are. Mm-hmm. So over the years, I've just been not really knowing what to do, feeling like I've never really got good advice or treatments or therapies from all the doctors that I've been through my entire life. It just seemed like nothing ever worked, no matter how many pills I was taking and going to see my psych therapist. It just seemed like nothing was working. So I was so trapped in this helplessness that I attempted suicide multiple times. And the only thing that I can say is that wasn't God's plan for me, because when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, like literally, oh my God, like, why did you save me? So around 2014, I was back in that spot again where it was just like, I can't just keep going through all of these different types of pain, level 7 to 10 pain 24/7 on a walker and a cane. And then the mental issues clammed on top of that. So what I described and what she also described, my friend Arlene Peterson Bowie, we met in 2014 through mutual friend. And that same year in October, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she went every year. The very next year that she went, she was diagnosed at like stage 2 or 3 in 1 year. And so, we started to bond and mesh very quickly, like neither one of us has ever known before. And we can only confess it to be a spiritual connection between the two of us. And a lot of people don't understand that. And through this journey, we tried all different types of natural holistic, because we wanted to get away from traditional medicine or try to help it in some kind of a way. So we tried registering with Ohio Medical Marijuana before it was legal in Ohio in this area. We traveled to different cities and states for different treatments and therapies. We started going to Glow IV and Pepper Pike and getting IV infusions, Earth Angels Holistic Health, getting Reiki. And then we got involved with learning how to make our own natural soaps, lotions, and body butters, because it's not only important what you put in your body, it's also important what you put on your body. A lot of people don't realize the chemicals and stuff that are in like toothpastes and shampoos. It gets into your system and it causes health issues. So we started making natural stuff, and unfortunately, in 2019, she passed from breast cancer. In light of all of that, I decided to take our little business of soaps and lotions and make a full-blown nonprofit to be able to help people, because we need help navigating through this medical system. The doctor's way is not always the best way. I'm not saying fire your doctor, but they serve a useful purpose. And if nothing else, they can give us information that we could take and be advocates for our own health and look up natural alternatives to these medications we're being prescribed, looking up our illnesses, our conditions and symptoms, and looking up natural ways to help treat them like they used to do centuries ago. Mm-hmm. We were healed from Mother Earth, and we need to go back to that.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. I think even when I hear you talk about your friend, Arlene, it really sounds like she was an angel, and this connection that you had during a time that you were going through so much. I think that even in thinking about all of the things that you had experienced up until then, because you mentioned that one of the first illnesses was the PTSD stemming from childhood trauma, and how that led to this internal burning and this suffering that felt like I no longer want to live with this suffering anymore. God had a different plan for you. And part of that plan was bringing her to your life and helping to ignite this passion, right? So it went from a fire to a passion. And it just, honestly, like, I am so like touched just by that connection that you had with her and what that did to really change the trajectory of your life and that sense of purpose. For a quick second, I want to take it back to you as a child. What was it like growing up?
There are some good memories that I vaguely remember. Most of the good childhood memories came from hearing about them, you know, during family gatherings and reunions and stuff like that. Unfortunately, all of the bad stuff that happened overshadowed those good memories. And it was what I remember mainly. If people ask me about my childhood, the first things that I remember is feeling so alone and wonder, what did I ever do to deserve such a horrible life? Prior to, all before high school, I had been raped and molested probably 5 or 6 times, you know, before getting good in the high school, you know, let alone trying to get out of it. And the sad part about it is, except for one incident, every horrible thing that has ever happened to me in my life has been around people I knew, you know, friends and family. And I'm finding that that's a trend, because I've been talking to people and asking them, as I've been talking to them about my story, had they ever experienced anything like that? And they're like, yes. Bullied, raped, abandoned, things like that. So it was just a matter of just doing whatever I could to take my mind off the bad things that was going on in my life. So it may have appeared that I was a bad child or acting out, because I did get into trouble, you know, when I was younger, getting in with the wrong crowd, stealing, cutting school, fighting, you know, stuff like that. But it was just because, what else was I going to do? Other than that, you know, I really wanted to either kill myself or the other people who was doing this stuff to me, because whenever I spoke up, nothing was ever done in any of these cases. I mean, none. Either I just flat out was not believed from the beginning, or a lot of denial in every last one of them. Yeah.
So I can definitely resonate with you in so many different ways. One of which, just even the idea or the thought of not being able to recall or remember positive memories because the darkness overshadows the light, is very common in trauma. And it's actually difficult to get to the point where you can actually begin to kind of work through that and start to remember the good from your own, not just from other people's recollection, you know, to try to remember the good memories, just because the darkness tends to be so heavy. And then this idea of the people closest to us are the ones that tend to have this level of like access to hurt us in that way. I too am a survivor of family sexual trauma, in the sense that there's this, you have this feeling of being alone and this feeling of sadness, and then someone comes in and oftentimes, and I don't know if you've experienced this because it doesn't always happen that way, this grooming phase where the abuser tries to make you feel like there's this, like, you're special and that it's an extension of their love,
right,
as a part of the manipulation and things of that nature. And one of the things that's the hardest things to do is just speak up. But you did that. Like, you did that. You spoke up and you shared what you had experienced. And unfortunately, like so many other individuals, you weren't believed. How did that feel after you shared what you shared and you weren't believed? How did that impact the other instances that something else happened? Did Did you continue to speak up? Like, how did that change the way you responded to the trauma?
Well, after the first 2, 3, 4 incidents, and I saw that not only was I not going to be believed, but 1 or 2 of the cases I was actually punished for speaking up. It put me in a place where I just put myself in a whole other world, because I just felt like an alien. You know, it was like, where am I? And I could not trust anybody. I mean, I didn't trust not a single person, because the bad experiences were both on the side of females and males in my life. It just put me in a headspace where I was just numb for a very, very long time. And I was not paying attention to what I was doing, how I was doing it. I had no care for if it was dangerous or anything else like that. I just didn't care anymore about anything.
How did that impact? You said that you couldn't really trust individuals. How did that impact your relationships? Your relationship with yourself, first of all. How did it impact your relationship with yourself?
Well, I didn't really like myself. I figured maybe I deserved everything that I was going through. And so I kind of treated myself like whatever anybody wanted to do, I allowed them to do, you know, and I continued to stay loyal to people. Because after the first several times where I spoke up and nothing happened, anytime after that anything happened, I never said anything about it. I just took it like it was supposed to happen, just kept it moving, and was like, okay, well, I guess this is how my life is supposed to be. I'm supposed to be abused and raped and beaten and abused. So what I did was I still found a whole bunch of love, even today. Still do a lot for a lot of people, even though I don't trust people. I still have this overwhelming love and care to see the positive in people, no matter how horrible they are or how horrible they've been. And I've had people come to me and tell me, you know, like I would tell them stories about interactions with people. And they would say, and you're still friends with them, or you still associate yourself with them? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm sure, you know, they probably going through something or whatever. And, you know, so it was just like, well, people need to earn to be your friend and to be in your space and to be in your energy. And I didn't understand that because I didn't love myself, so I really didn't care anymore. As long as I was still alive, it was like, okay, well, I made it through that, so let's see what else is going to happen. And that's pretty much how it's been until in the last 5 or 6 years. When I went on this journey with Arlene, for the first time in my life, I genuinely felt what unconditional love meant and what it felt like. And in the people that I've met through her, all I felt was love when I was around her, her family, her friends. She became like my best friend, my sister. Her husband became my best friend and brother. He and I are still very close to this day because we're the only 2 people that are really still looking out for each other since she's passed. I moved on into a totally different place now, and I feel like God has brought me through all of this for a reason, and it's time for me to speak back up again. You know, I think about the situation with Maya Angelou, and she's been an inspiration for me for a very long time, and she has a quote about bearing the burden of an untold story in relation to her Why the Caged Bird Sings, from a childhood trauma where she was raped by her mother's boyfriend. And she said something about it, and her uncles ended up killing this guy. And she felt because she spoke up, it was her fault. So she didn't speak for almost another 5.5 years. And so I haven't said anything about anything that's happened to me for over the last 20, 30 years. And it's time for me to speak up again to help me heal and to help other people get through it and change the dynamics of brushing these type of things under the rug in our families and in our circles for all of us to get better.
What's your relationship like with your family now?
Well, I love everybody in my family. We don't all get along, but I love them all. I miss them, especially during this pandemic. My mom has been like my biggest cheerleader. At first, a lot of it started out from guilt Mother is always going to feel guilty when her child has gone through some things in the early stages of their life. They feel a certain type of way about those things, but we talked. We are closer than we've ever been before. She's like my best friend now. My sister, we talk on a regular basis whenever either one of us isn't busy. So my relationships are actually starting to get better because I'm getting better. Some of them are straining because when you start to live in your truth, a lot of people who know you don't want to be involved in that because they're not ready for their truth and their association with you, especially if they had anything to do with any of the bad things or traumas that's happened in your life. It's like, oh, it's only a matter of time before they bring my name up and they stuff. So it's like they want to keep their distance.
Ain't that the truth?
Niall, they want to keep their distance, because now they got to defend what happened. And it's not even that kind of a journey at this point. It's not about pointing fingers and blame and making other people feel bad. It's about finally being able to understand that what happened to me was in the past. I'm beyond that. And I'm telling my story to help myself and other people, not to put anybody down. This is about awareness and love. And if you can't understand that, then you need to be on the other side of my energy because I can't take it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm feeding off of that healing energy. So I want to hear about, I know that Arlene was such a pivotal point in your life, but I'm also curious in terms of what other things happened during that time to help you tap into this sense of power, because you are in your power right now. And I think that's absolutely amazing to see you shining, to see you in your power. Because honestly, one of the hardest things when it comes to sexual trauma is that giving up of our power. And even when you mention some of those toxic relationships, have it be with family or have it be with friends or have it be with someone who you come across, in terms of accepting or tolerating certain behaviors or certain things, it has to do with not feeling that you're worthy or deserving of more than that. Tell me about when or how did that switch and you took back your power?
I don't really look at it as me taking back my power. I just feel as though through my journey and experiences with Arlene, it was given back to me. It was shown to me that I always had it. It wasn't never really taken. I just didn't believe in my power anymore, is what it was. I came across people that made me believe in my power again, that made me believe in myself, developing self-love and self-pride of myself that I never felt before. I mean, it's kind of weird to say right now at the age of 50, I'm just now feeling like I'm loving myself for the very first time in my life. The same year that I met her, the other thing that also happened is that I was involved in a hit and run accident and my car was totaled. And that was in November, the weekend of my birthday. She had found out in October she had breast cancer, but she didn't really tell me about it until around December. And when she did tell me, I had ordered her a breast cancer awareness bracelet, kind of like the one I'm wearing that I've started making now, and borrowed my mom's car. Went to go visit her, gave her this card and gave her a breast cancer awareness bracelet. And I was just like, I really don't know what to say. She looked at me and she was like, you don't have to say anything. She was just like, the fact that you're here, that you're here, just sitting here with me, is way more than enough that anybody could say. And I think that was the turning point in her life when she started to allow me to get closer to her. And throughout our relationship, she would send out like fillers and tests with people. Someone gave her this book called Radical Remission. And it's about, being there for individuals with cancer, and that a lot of times you can have a radical remission without chemo and radiation. And it's a matter of love, your spirit, your faith, and things like that, and your support system can actually give people with cancer a better quality of life than medications can. And so she sent out feelers to people around her, like offering for them to read that book, videos about law of attraction. She sent me a link to watch Secret from Law of Attraction. That blew my mind. That was really good. The feedback that she was getting from people was just like, okay, here are these people. Some of them I've known almost all my life. Here's this new person in my life that I barely know, who is sucking all of this up and really being there for me. And the other people she expected to be there wasn't. And so it caused me to start doing the same thing, is seeing who is around me and why are they around me, and are they contributing to the weakness of my illnesses, my debilitations. And just started looking at the people around me, and it was like, if you're not bringing good energy, I have to pull myself back. So that's how that happened, and it just continued to grow from there.
Oh, that's amazing. And having that relationship, that positive relationship, was that, like, it was that example that you needed to see yourself in other relationships, and really that mirror of yourself, because she was a mirror of you and your greatness, and you're embodying that greatness right now. And what would she say to you right now?
Oh, we talk on a regular basis.
Yes.
She is always in me, around me, and near me. And, it's a really great feeling to have someone like that in your life. And a lot of people don't understand that connectedness that I have with her. But what a lot of people don't understand is we saw some of the most ugliest moments in each other's lives. When you're dealing with cancer, I mean, this is the first person that I've ever known that I was with them from the beginning of their diagnosis to their passing. And when you're in situations like that, most of the time, you don't really want to be around people that you don't know. You want to be around close friends and family. But she saw a kindness in me and a calmness in me. My energy is what attracted her in situations. And I talked to her sister about this, so she knows about this. Like when Arlene had to go to doctor's appointments, she would be like, yeah, Tammy, Dwayne taking me to a doctor's appointment, and that's my sister, and I know she loved me. But she can get real emotional, and she can just be this is her sister that's diagnosed with cancer. So Arlene was just like, I just need you there to keep her calm. Okay. And I would do stuff like that with her. So it's like, if you find people in your life that has good energy, it doesn't make any difference how long you've known them. If you have somebody who is willing to be with you through some of the worst times in your life without judgment, and I mean no judgment, and are there with unconditional love in the depths of it, those are the kind of people you hold on to. And that's what she taught me.
Beautiful. I'm glad that she's still here with you in spirit, and that you still get messages from her. That is absolutely wonderful and powerful. And yes. I'm curious, what is your relationship like with God?
Ooh. Me and him have a kind of relationship that other people wouldn't approve of, but it's not about them. It's about my relationship with him. And I try to tell people, there's no need to try to dress up your relationship with God in front of other people, because he sees you all the time, 24/7. And you can't hide anything from him. And then now you got to answer to him for lying to other people about your relationship with him. So,
how you look from that, right?
It's like, if I'm sure if we could see his face, he'd be sitting up there like, no, this child ain't lying on my relationship with her. Stop it. So, but yes, it's like my relationship with God it's like no other that I've ever experienced before in my life. I have conversations with God all the time. I sit and I listen to whatever he has to tell me in directions that I'm going. One of Arlene's favorite Bible verses is Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. Mm-hmm. And she really instilled that in me. because I would always just be just all over the place. And it was like, just be still and know that I am God. Sometimes you don't need to be doing anything. Just sit and he will speak to you if you listen. We're so caught up in our own, what we want to do, where we want to go, and who we want to be with. And if we just sit sometimes in silence and do nothing, he will speak to us.
Tell me about your relationship with your inner child.
You know, so I have self-diagnosed myself with multiple personalities because I have Tammy, Tamla, and TJ. And I believe that this came from having to protect my inner child from everything that she went through. So, like, Tammy is the kid. Tammy is the kid, the fantasizer, you know, those kind of things, rainbows and unicorns. That's Tammy. Tamla is the business person, and TJ is, you better watch your ass, because don't come for her, because if you do, please don't let TJ come out, because she will stomp somebody down if you mess with Tammy. I'm telling you. My child is actually coming out, and I'm really excited about that, because I'm actually starting to hone into some of the things that were in me as a child. Working with my foundation, I remember vague conversations with my mom about me being the kind of child that, like, if you got me a toy or something, and I would tear it apart, and not to be destructive, but because I wanted to put it back together, because I wanted to know how it worked. This is the kind of person that I am. It kind of plays into the perfectionist part of me when I'm either doing anything with school or work. It has to be perfect, and I drive myself crazy with that. She's coming back.
I love it. And I think that once you begin to really just let go of the story of this message, of really to find your voice. And like you said, you just always had that power, but just remembering your power. That's when the Tammy can come out, because it's safe to come out and play. And then you start to realize that you have this newfound creativity. You start to realize you can smell the roses, you can skip, and you can dance, and you can be silly. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Your inner child is here with you right now. You are her. And you're living and embodying her in ways that she wasn't able to truly, like, live in that time. So it's like, now's your time to play.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's amazing. So Tammy.
Yes.
Tamla and TJ, because all are welcomed. All are welcomed, and all are necessary in order to get you to the you that you are now. If you could say something to that one person who is in that depth of suffering, who has that fire that's burning inside of them, that says, I don't want to live with this suffering anymore, what would you say to them?
Well, as harsh as it may sound, make a choice to live or die. Make a choice. You have to stop living in the middle zone, because you can slowly, it's like a slow suicide, staying in that middle zone of, should I go forward, or should I stay back here, or should I kill myself, or whatever. And at some point you have to say, unless I'm going to commit myself to not doing anything at all, but you still have something inside of you that's telling you, I'm not ready to quit. I'm not ready to give up. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know this isn't it. Start doing something. Start figuring out what it may be. A lot of times we don't have that kind of motivation around us for us to do anything. Sometimes we're not the best self-motivators. What I found to be helpful when I decided that since God ain't gonna let me die, I may as well live for him, I just started watching, motivational and spiritual videos. Go on YouTube. I mean, people are so busy on social media, and I'm in all these groups, and all they talk about is how horrible they feel and the pains that they feel and the medications that they're on. And I'm like, okay, get off Facebook And go on YouTube, pull up some stories about Tyler Perry, pull up some stories about Iyanla Vanzant and Oprah Winfrey and Steve Harvey, Leandria Johnson, Tiffany Haddish. All of these people went through traumas in their life as kids, whether it was with parent issues, people around them, or anything else like that. And they just got to a point where I just can't take this no more. I need to jump out and be me. I need to jump out and do something. It's not going to be easy. I would never tell anybody, but the best things come out of the roughness. Just got to take that first step.
I actually got this quote from Eckhart Tolle that said, "The fire of your suffering becomes the light of your consciousness. And the greater the fire, the greater the enlightenment, the greater the transformation."
Wow.
And I can see the greatness in your transformation. Like, seeing you now, and anyone who sees you, the Tamla, right? They're not seeing the suffering.
Right.
They're actually seeing the light of the consciousness that you're now lighting up to light the way for anyone else who's ready to take that journey, which I think is absolutely amazing and selfless and just powerful.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for living. Thank you for choosing to live and live wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It was long overdue, and just like you, I saw one of your posts. I told you earlier that when I read that post, when you were saying God said that you were going to tell your story, speak your truth, and you refused, and it seems like I wrote that because that's exactly how I felt. It was just nagging on me. It was giving me anxiety. And throughout my journey, like dealing with a lot of healthcare professionals, I've had a lot of therapists, home care workers, and everyone else was like, maybe you think you need to write a book, or be a motivational speaker or something. And I was like, yeah, okay, so when is your next visit? Because I was like, I wasn't even trying to hear that. Like, I'm having a hard enough time telling you about this. You think I want to tell the world? But you can't tell you what you gonna do. When God in the universe tell you gonna do something, you gonna do it.
Good luck trying to say no. I tried that.
Good luck, because that kind of anxiety and fear is way worse than anything anybody else can give you.
Indeed.
It is.
Tammy, tell everybody, where can they find you and get more information about the work that you're doing?
Well, for now, the website should be out by the end of this month. Definitely, I want to have it out before my birthday next month on the 17th. But on Instagram, the ArTam Foundation, or Tammy's Peace 333 for my personal, and on Facebook, it's the ArTam Foundation, and Tamla J. Crutchfield on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, it was such a pleasure and a blessing to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being you, and for you doing everything that you're doing along this mission as well. And it was because of the connection with you and your spirit. That's why I'm here today. Thank you.
If you want to support me and my podcast and love the stories, there are 3 ways that you can support me and my show. 1, make sure you subscribe to my podcast wherever you listen to your podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you're listening to me on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe there. 2, follow me on my social media accounts, Alba Soto TLC on Instagram and Facebook. And also you can visit me on my website, albasototlc.com. 3, last but certainly not least, share this podcast with a friend, a family member, or a coworker so we can spread the message of trauma liberation. Until next week, continue to be the change that you want to see in the world.